All right. Aloha, everyone. Happy Aloha Friday, and welcome back to another episode, our 22nd episode of Manoa Valley Theater Live. I am your host, Dylan Chase Lee, right there. And as you can see, I took down that dreaded blanket, so it looks much cleaner in here. This is what it usually looks like. Clean. I'm a clean guy. Enough of that. let's bring out Kip. Kip.
You know, Dylan, I never know what I'm walking into. I just never know from show to show.
I think that's the running gag, right? People say, how do you enter? It tells you a lot about your character. I'm just an awkward pigeon.
All right.
Yes.
And I'm just not even gonna go there. I'm just leaving that alone. We're moving on. However, I will say that you guys were having a very interesting conversation before we came on about collectibles, I think.
Yes.
And I think you need to work that in. I think that needs to be like part of the show today.
Does it? I mean, I could save it for next week.
I mean, everybody's been talking about they have this one and that one. And I mean, I don't have any, but you guys seem to. So.
Yeah.
All right.
But it's not about the collectibles today. It's about some very, very lovable people that will be on the show today.
All right. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Hey, so let's talk a little bit about what's been going on at the theater. The big thing is the new arrival. The new air conditioner has been installed. They're waiting for a couple of things that have to do with the thermostat and the electrical system, which will be finished on Monday. And then we will fire it up. We'll have a big ceremony Monday afternoon and let this baby rock. It's been a year and 2 weeks that it's taken to get this thing. Hats off to Hawaii Community Reinvestment Corporation for helping us with financing this. And hopefully Hawaii Energy is also going to make a contribution. We're looking forward to hearing from them about that. And so it's been a pretty cool week. And let me see, coming up on September 12th in the theater, there's going to be an event. Bamboo Ridge Press is doing a joint fundraising. However, with the current restrictions now, it is a live streamed event. We won't have people in the house, but that's the way things are right now because we're being careful because, hey, Today we had 230 new cases. I mean, that is just scary. And this week we've had 6 deaths. And that's 1,035 cases this week. So come on, folks, do your part. Live that aloha. Love your neighbor. Okay. Yeah. But all in all, it's been it's a good week for us. We're really excited about the season coming up. It's as we're making plans and we're doing things that have to do with the different shows coming up. It like feels real again. I so miss the theater, and I know you do too. So support your local arts organization. Support Manoa Valley Theater. Call us. You can donate. Dylan will pick up the phone, 808-988-6131, or you can go to our website. That's the easiest way to do it. And we love you guys. We miss you guys and look forward to having you back in the theater. That's all I've got today. What do you got, Dylan?
I just want to make a quick shout out to Heidi and Cook because those folks are the ones installing the air conditioner. Yeah, it was really cool. I wasn't up yet, but Kip was. Got to see, all of that in action.
Hey, you don't happen to have some of those photos, do you?
I don't have them on me right now.
I'll shoot them to you, and if it works out. However, we don't have a song for you to kind of chill out during this time. If it happens to work out, we'll show them. Otherwise, we'll get them next week.
Yep. All right. But yeah, so how about we introduce the guests?
All right.
Let's do it.
Fabulous ladies, 2 of my favorite people. So I know you'll enjoy it.
Nice. All right. We'll talk to you later, Kip.
All right.
So like Kip was saying, we have 2 fabulous ladies with us today. We welcome to the show 2 of Hawaii's most sought-after theater tech crew members who have designed many sets for Manoa Valley Theater, Michelle Bisbee and MJ Matsushita. Michelle is an assistant professor of scenic design at UH who has designed sets for Manoa Valley Theater shows such as Once, Allegiance, and The Full Monty. MJ is a tech director and technical theater teacher at Kaimuki High School's Performing Arts Center, who was a set designer and scenic artist for such MVT shows as The Rocky Horror Show, Sylvia, and The Princess and the Iso Peanut, to name a few. Let's bring them out. Michelle, MJ, how are you folks doing?
Doing all right.
Nice. And I understand that usually for us tech people, we're not used to being in front of the camera, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll make it through somehow. With enough awkwardness, it'll become something.
We can always turn our camera off if we get shy.
Yeah, we can always go blackout.
Yeah.
All right. So, yep. Right. So, just to start off, what started your folks' interest in theater? Did you immediately say, I want to go the technical route, or was it, I want to do maybe acting, and then you saw something else?
Go ahead, Michelle.
Okay. I had a crazy roundabout way getting there. I started off as a zoologist in my undergrad with a minor in art. And when I tested into biochemistry my freshman year, that was kind of a crazy, I guess, rude awakening, you would call it. And I went, and I went solely to art, but I said, man, what am I going to do about this? And I have to attribute it to this girl named Bethany who lived on my dorm my freshman year of college, because she was an acting major. And she said, well, we need people to like build sets and paint props and do all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, maybe you should look into that. And then she ran down the hall and I thought, and that's kind of all she wrote. Like I took a intro to acting and intro to scene design, and that was it. It was sealed. I started off in the artisan side and designer, and just kind of took off from there.
Nice. And sorry, I haven't directed questions. MJ, would you like to follow up on that question as well?
Sure. So I was dating an actor way back in my first year of college, and I was a music major, classical clarinet, and I was dating this actor. He was doing this show called The Glass Menagerie, and I was hanging around so much that the director put me to work. So I was doing the slides for the show, and it's like, then I tried auditioning for shows and, getting ensemble and crap like that. And it's like, then he just stopped casting me. So it's like, well, okay, I'll take that as a hint. And I started building the scenery instead. And it kind of went on from there. I stopped being a music major about 3 years after that, when I transferred to a different school, and music wasn't as much fun as being in the shop and building stuff. So I just switched totally.
Nice. And part of it too with doing tech, it's so satisfying to see something when everything comes together, to see something that you've created on stage. It's a magical moment. And
yeah, very much.
My predecessor, Montana, you folks know Montana. That's one of the things that he told me, that working in tech, I mean, a lot of people won't always acknowledge your work, but when you see it for the first time after so many days or weeks or however long you're working on the set, and something just wasn't coming out right, and finally it works, and on opening night everything comes together, it's satisfying.
Yeah. Very much so.
Exactly.
So kind of going off of that digression, what would you say were one of your folks' biggest struggles with a specific set? MJ, if you'd like to start it off.
How to get Frankenfurter to lift to the non-existent grid in Young Frankenstein.
So how did you folks figure that out? There's no grid, so there was no fly rail system to lift this person up?
No, it wasn't Frankenfurter, it was Frankenstein. And we ended up, they finally found enough money so that we could rent a genie lift that we then modified. And then it would go up. It's still a little funky up there at 18 feet.
Yes, it is.
Especially when you're doing what they're supposed to be doing up at 18 feet, So.
Fun.
little wobbly, little wobbly.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a genie lift like that at Kennedy Theater, and I don't like that genie lift.
It keeps you on your toes, right? It keeps you.
Oh yeah, it keeps you on your toes and all the way back up to where the center of gravity is, so you don't go over.
Yeah.
Michelle, would you like to follow up on that question as well?
I don't know how much we're allowed to divulge in the backstage stuff, but I'll say my first show over at MVT with the Full Monty. It was one of those shows that it felt like the design process. We went through 4 or 5 versions of the design just because of complications with starting build.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then at one point, we thought we had the car under control. It was relayed to me that measurements had been taken and that the car was going to fit. And then I got a phone call one fine afternoon as we were entering into tech to be told that the car that we had procured was not going to fit. And this is the one of the big jokes in theater is we've changed the show, and overnight we're going to turn it into Thoroughly Modern Millie, just like that. We're going to magically produce the show, and so that's kind of how I felt about the car.
Yeah.
And it was it actually, fate smiled on me, and after a few phone calls and a few desperate pleas and some bartering and begging of exchanging tickets and ad space, I secured a car. I secured a vehicle for stage, and it's what everybody, if you saw that production, it's what we saw on stage during the run.
Yep, the nice little yellow smart car.
Silver and black.
Oh yes, it was silver and black. I'm sorry. My roommate actually has a smart car, very similar to the one that he had for Full Monty. And every time I see it, I just think of Full Monty bringing that car on stage with the revolving door. Actually, speaking of Full Monty, I actually have the floor plans that you for the Full Monty show. Bring that up. There it is.
So that was version 2 of the design.
Oh, okay. This is version 2.
And that's version 1, but that's closer to what we that's version 3 actually, I think.
Oh.
I had to think about that for a minute. It's closer to what we ended up with.
Mm-hmm.
But the stage area that is on the audience's, the house left, stage right, ended up being more center.
Yes. And then with the band, you kind of kept that band kind of platform up top.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, big aspirations and big dreams, but when your build time starts to get knocked down, some of those high aspirations start to go away. And as we are as designers and artisans, we have a tendency to be very flexible in ways we never thought before.
Okay, that's not going to work. Switch.
Right.
Yeah. Is a lot of being a designer, a lot of it just kind of knowing when to kind of give up on an idea, or do you folks always kind of push for that idea because you know that it's going to work and it's going to look fabulous? But
no, there comes a point. There comes a point when it's like, okay, I have 1 week before we open the show. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen. Okay, so change it, move it over, do something else in its place. It's either doable or something. It's one of the reasons I work very closely with you guys up there when we're building the set, so that if we do need to do a switch suddenly, we're there to do it before it goes too far and too long.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, you have to pick and choose your battles, right? It's about collaboration, and it's about working together as a team. I caution students often, both directing and the directing class that I teach and my design students, not to be a dictator. Don't be a dictator director, and don't be a dictator designer, because that's the amazing artistry of theater, is that it's a collaborative process.
Yes.
So pick and choose your battles.
Yes. Very much so. And if you have to, I mean, just, drop an idea. What would you folks say would be the most heartbreaking idea that you loved so much and it never went through?
Actually, I don't think I have a huge one. It's all little things here and there. Maybe I didn't do the last painting detail on something that I really wanted to do, but nothing really stands out for saying, oh my God, okay, it's not going to happen.
I can only think of one, and again, it wasn't anything to freak out over. It was just disappointing because it never made it past the rehearsal room. I made a staff for Into the Woods when I was in Arizona. And it was actor controlled with a lever so that it would shoot smoke out of the bottom, not battery operated. So we didn't have to worry about wires breaking. We didn't have to, it was a kind of a push button type deal, a lever type deal. And the first day it went into rehearsal, it made a sound because it was cloud in a can. So it, and the cast kind of giggled because it was fun. The first time you hear it, you're like, oh, and the director immediately cut it. This is a serious scene and nobody can laugh, and the cast laughed and we can't. And I said, oh, but I mean, there's music and there's music on that beat. No, absolutely. There can be nothing funny. And it was cut immediately in that moment. And it was kind of, and I was like, okay, mourn it, get over it. Okay, let's go.
Right.
You gain a lot of tough skin after a while.
Yeah. The older you get, the tougher it is.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. So what would you say are the skills necessary to do the work of your caliber? A lot of people say that with acting, you always have to work on your craft. It's an unfinished product. You take these, seminars or these acting classes or these master classes. Would you say it would be pretty much the same with design work?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't necessarily take active classes and stuff, but to be a scenic designer or any kind of designer, really, you just have to have a mind that's curious and always trying to find something. Oh, that looks interesting. How do I do that? So you'll find that most of the designers around, we're always doing something different. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I like set design is every show I do, I'm looking at something completely different, even if it's a show that I've designed before. So you got to have an imaginative and curious mind, really, more than anything else. And you also have to have the ability to collaborate with difficult people, none of whom are in this room.
Yeah, I mean, tagging on what MJ said, totally. You have to have an imagination. You have to have a passion. It's one of those things that not everybody is going to be a Broadway designer. Not everybody wants to be a Broadway designer, right? And it's sometimes it's long hours, sometimes it's crazy hours. I say you have to have passion and a desire to learn, because it's never ending. I mean, in the climate that we're in right now, a lot of live performance, as we are here virtually, has been canceled. And we're adapting. I'm creating virtual backgrounds and playing with video editing software and doing all sorts of crazy things to create these backgrounds for these remote productions. So it's not being afraid to fail, not being afraid to get up and try again, and just learning as much as you can.
Good. And I think that's one of the things that's so important with theater in general. If you're an actor or if you're working with crew or if you're part of the tech team, you always learn something, whether it's from the script, like, oh, okay, I need this type of chair from this period, and it needs, to look like this, because if not, then it's not part of that era.
Yeah. Well, it's nice on the design side when you work with actors who use the scenery or in the props that you give them. I mean, it's always the best, most fun that I ever have, I have to say, was on Rocky Horrors of this last summer, because I built the library up above for the narrator. And so I started putting just some things, tchotchkes on the stuff, but then he would play with them and interact And it's like, oh, what's he going to do now? Okay, can I give him something else that he can play with? Okay, so I give him a skeleton, I give him a teddy bear that's been cut up and all that kind of stuff. So all of those things, that's what kind of makes it fun when you create something and then the actors take it and run.
Nice.
Yeah, very much agreed. Very much agreed. On that same vein with Our Town, production of Our Town, we said, oh my goodness, what are we going to do we wanted to figure out how to customize the chairs for each individual actor, for each individual character. They each had their own chair that they took ownership for. And so we pulled a bunch from that time period that would fit with the mood and the feeling of the production, and we set them out and we said, based on dramaturgy, based on the character that you've built, the character that you've gotten to know, pick out your chair. And so we talked to them and discussed, and then we went from there and then constructed the age and the wear and the tear and the slight shift in color and everything based on who picked what chair. So again, just more collaboration. Sorry.
Yeah. That's been one of the really hard things with this COVID stuff is it's that lack of collaboration going around here. I mean, we have Zoom meetings here and there. I have a weekly one with some friends on the mainland, but there's no person that I'm talking to, even when I'm here at school. I'm in an empty multi-purpose room right at the moment, except for you guys.
But that lack of, I don't want to say camaraderie, but connection. I mean, we are talking to each other via StreamYard, but the connection just isn't the same. Like I can't read your folks' entire body language and the such. Yeah. But on a hopefully lighter note, and this might be a loaded question, out of all of the design aspects within theater, which would be your folks' favorite? Like lighting design, set design, sound design, prop design, not sound.
No. Absolutely not. Sound is voodoo. No, I'm a set designer. I like all the aspects of the building of the set, creating of the set and the environments, and the painting of the set. I used to be a lighting designer way back in the day. I didn't feel like I had the right eye for it, so I changed altogether and went all the way over to set design. I hate props.
Oh.
Yeah, see, I think that's where it's all of set. I kind of I was very fortunate in high school. I went to a high school where I learned how to weld in high school. I learned how to we even poured lead sinkers like for fishing. Learn how to rewire a house. I mean, it was a crazy technical side of our high school. And so when I got into college and into theater, they said, oh, wait, you know how to weld? And I said, well, I know how to stick weld. I don't know how to TIG. They said, oh, okay. And you know how to paint, huh? And I said, yeah. And they said, and you can sculpt? And they said, oh, props. But really, it's all of it. I love the faux finishing and the painting and being able to paint big, huge drops. And props is amazing just because it's building something out of nothing. Quite literally, sometimes coffee filters and
that's my set,
right? So yeah.
Nice. I remember I took the props class with you, Michelle, and it was very fun because I really imagined that I would enjoy like creating these things out of completely nothing, and it was, like I said before, it was very satisfying to come up with these ideas, and then also collaborating with other people, seeing how they made their props. Like, oh, I used a resin for this, and then I use this type of sculpty, or yeah.
You had a good group, definitely. Everybody's been pretty amazing, but the diversity of projects, because it's kind of I give outlines and then the students are actually designing, so it's not just being told what to do, but a design concept or a design part of it as well. And so the sheer distance of differences between what everybody designed was really cool to see, because everybody really got to learn different materials during that time.
Nice. And so do you folks have a specific set that you folks are most proud of? Maybe that was a loaded question.
I think I like my Rocky Horror sets the best. I've done it 3 times and differently 3 times. And it's kind of nice to change, different director, different concept and variations off of that. So it's the only show that I like having designed more than once. I don't like musicals that much.
Oh man, possibly The Mousetrap, and because of the history of it. I mean, we got down to the actors walked out on stage. The amount of detail that we were able to incorporate in that set, the actors walked out on stage and were so excited to see period English light switches that they ran over to the wall and thought that they were actually going to work. The old push button ones. And they were like, oh man, when they got over and they weren't able to control the lights like actually themselves. But just the sheer amount of detail that we were able to incorporate in that set was amazing. Everything from smoke-stained walls, from old candles before it was renovated into a house, to different floorboards, and it was just phenomenal.
Nice. And speaking of sets, MJ, I noticed with a lot of your sets, you add a lot of revolving pieces that spin.
Yes.
Is there a theory behind that? Is it something that you just like aesthetically?
Well, you don't have a lot of space up there, and it's usually a lot of scenery that needs to build. So I'm always trying to figure out a way to make a set that will do some kind of a change, but not have. I hate scene changes. I hate big moving things because it drops the audience out of the moment. So I want something that's going to be quick, fast, but it will also change the location. And so rotations tend to work really, really well for that. And you can also, change when it's on the offside, you can change it to something else and turn it around. It's like, ooh, we got a new piece. Yay. Give the audience something new to look at. So it's mostly just a viable, space saver more than anything else.
Yeah. And I mean, they work great. You had them in the Rocky Horror Show, where it went from the wall into Frankenfurter's laboratory. That was really cool. Yeah. Michelle, are there any design concepts that you use frequently in your sets?
I don't know if there's anything that I use frequently. I do like having surprises built into sets as much as possible, much like the turnaround. In the Full Monty, we had the what looked like file cabinets that pulled out as beds. I really like using fabric. So I've tried to pull back a little bit on that from the past few years. But I love fabric because it can be opaque if it's front lit. We can see through if it's backlit. We can paint on it. We can bunch it up. We can spread it out. So it's something that I very much enjoy when I have the ability.
Nice. And this question is from Kip. What would be your dream project to build? Any play, anything. Unlimited budget too.
Well, that's my dream right there. Just having an unlimited budget. That's my dream. Enough people to build it, enough money to build it, and enough materials to build it. Yeah. I don't care what it is.
Yeah. I think I have to agree on that. As many people as it takes within whatever time we have, as much budget, and as many line sets as I would like.
Wow.
Yeah.
After being in several spaces where there either aren't line sets or there's a bunch of line sets, but you can only use 4 of them. As many line sets as I can get, I will take.
And people to operate them.
Yes.
Yes. And unfortunately, at Manoa Valley, we don't have those line sets.
Line sets being the fly gallery, so the scenery can come in and out.
Yeah. Don't get me started. There was a window in Desperate Measures. It took me forever to try and rig it because it was in such a place where if you had it behind one place, you could obviously see the person operating it. So it had to go all the way in the back, but at the same time, it had to be up in this area of the grid that just wasn't ideal. It was next to a gable. So every time it went up, it hit the nuts and bolts of the gable. I was like, ah!
For Shipment Day, Montana and I did that same thing for Shipment Day with the chain link fence that comes in and out.
Yeah.
We were like, okay, here, no, it can't be here. Okay, if we move it to this way, well, now it's too far this way. What if we look here? What if we move up? So it was a lot of negotiating. Where can we practically do it, and then where does it work for also the scene?
Mm-hmm.
And the lighting design.
Yes, very much so.
Well, thank you, folks, for being on the show today. We're almost at time. But yeah, thank you so much for your folks' insight and your stories about working within the technical realm of theater. Thank you, folks, so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah. And just a quick shout out for MJ. She also does baking on the side. So if you want to support her at Fence Line Bakery. You can find Fence Line Bakery over at Facebook. You go
and
on
Instagram.
And Instagram. You can see all the good goodies that she likes to bake. I've had some myself, and I have to say, yes, cookies are like huge. They're like the size of my face.
Mm-hmm.
The Lily Koi poppy seed cake.
And all the money from baking and selling all this stuff goes to help my students have baking demos during the school year and art supplies for this time when I have to teach set design and technical theater without having them in the shop.
Nice. All right. So to close down the show, I'm going to bring back Kip. Is that okay with you folks?
Yeah.
All right.
We can tolerate him again.
Wow. You know what? I'm really glad you got the permission, Dylan, because I was just waiting for them to say no, and I want to see what you're going to do then.
Well, I was going to say, I guess that's the end of the show.
Hey, thank you guys. It was really, really entertaining and very, very enlightening. What you guys do is just so special. You just create that world that those of us who are actors get to inhabit, and it's just amazing, and it makes all the difference in the world in being able to do something as an actor. And by the way, let me just clarify, because I don't know that everybody knows that Dylan is our tech director. So Dylan, he knows what he's talking about here. He's the guy who has to build what they design. So
sorry, Dylan.
he's brilliant. Not to mention the fact that he's a brilliant actor. If you saw Curious Incident of the Dog in the midnight or the nighttime, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. He was fantastic. Thanks everybody for joining us for our 22nd, correct, Dylan?
Yes,
22nd show. I am really proud of this, and I hope that this is connecting with you guys. And if there's anything you'd like to see on the show, send us an email. Let us know what you'd like to see. And so back to you, Dylan.
Yeah, I just thank you folks for being on the show. Be sure to support MJ. She's right there. With Fence Line Bakery, all the proceeds help out teach kids all the technical aspects of theater, so that they don't
me out of trouble.
And keep them out of trouble. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And donate to Manoa Valley Theater here too.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see you folks next time. Aloha.
All right.
Aloha.
Aloha.